Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to show you just how quick and easy it is to make your very own snow globe tumblers. Since it's almost Valentine's Day, I thought we'd put a fun twist on it and make it rejection hearts. Alright y'all, let's get started. So the only prep required is to set your lid and straw to the side and peel the sticker off the bottom. If you have a little residual glue, alcohol will take it right off. Just remember, never put acetone on your acrylic. You will frost it over and ruin it. Now there's lots of ways to drill your hole in your tumbler. Some people use hot tools off Amazon. Some people like Dremels. I just prefer to use my Black & Decker drill with a 5/16 drill bit. I do like to start my hole right up against the edge on the bottom just because there is a double wall in there and the glitter sheets down the side a lot easier when it's not being dumped right on top of that other wall. So you will notice here I'll stop one time and clean my drill bit as I'm drilling. And that's just because when I finally break through that first wall, I don't want any of that acrylic garbage to go inside the tumbler. I don't want any of that debris floating around in my glitter. And it's just easier to avoid getting it in there than it is to get it out. I know this part intimidates some people, but don't let it scare you. So you just want to keep even firm pressure on your drill trigger. Slow and steady wins the race. Keep it moving. You'll feel the resistance, you'll hear a little crack, and voila, your hole will break through. At that point, you do want to stop because you don't want to put a hole in the second layer that's inside the cup. Now that we have our hole drilled, we're all ready to add our glitter. So I'd like to have a little shield around my cup so that I can shake my glitter in without spilling it everywhere. But I also don't want the top of it to be sticky because I'll lose a lot of glitter that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to piece together 2 pieces of masking tape and then put another piece across the top to block the stickiness. So basically, I want it sticky on the bottom to stick it to my tumbler, but non-sticky on the top so my glitter doesn't get wasted, if that makes sense. 2-inch painter's tape or masking tape would be perfect for this. I just didn't have any thicker tape laying around at the time of filming, so I improvised with my 1-inch masking tape. With our shield in place, it's time to start picking out our glitters and adding them to our tumbler. For this one, I chose to use 4 different glitters: Dove and Angel Dust in a chunky cut, and then a little bit of Peach Bellini and Pink Flutter for color. All of these are available from Boujie Glitter Boutique, and I have them linked in my description box. I've never really been one to measure my glitter in my snow globe tumblers, but I will tell you that I used about a tablespoon each of the Peach Bellini and the Pink Flutter, and then I would say I used a couple of tablespoons each of the 2 lighter opals. Since I'm an eyeballer and not a measurer, I'm going to insert a little picture-in-picture here to give you a visual idea of how much glitter I like to add to my tumblers. Once I have my glitter all added, I just take a clean, dry brush and sort of scrape in the last remaining bits that are static clung to the bottom. Then I just do a little dust off with an old chip brush and we're ready to add our liquid. There are a ton of options out there for liquid choices, but I prefer just plain clear Elmer's glue and water mixture. It gives it a really good hang time. It's super inexpensive compared to a lot of things like glycerin and contact solution. And also, I don't have to worry about anything like molding, which can be a problem with glycerin. Now, as I've mentioned before, I don't really measure. So I like to have my glue somewhere around 1/4 to 1/3 of my solution and the rest water. That allows it to have really good suspension time for the glitter, but it keeps it from being too thick that the glitter doesn't move well at all. So you'll see as I'm mixing it up here, it's very cloudy to begin with. You can almost see like threads of glue in the solution, but if you just keep stirring gently, you'll mix that right in and it'll go back to clear. You don't want to put it in a bottle and shake it too vigorously because the glue will froth up kind of like soap bubbles, and it takes a long time for those to go away. So once you've got it all mixed up, it's time to start adding some liquid to the tumbler. I like to use just a big syringe. You can get it online at Amazon or any medical supply store. The piston tip fits perfectly down in the hole I drilled in my cup. I'm sorry, I know I got just a little bit out of frame here too. But I put about a syringe full in, which is somewhere between 50 and 60 mils. And then I'm going to stop here. The last thing you want to do is finish making your tumbler and then find that the glitter doesn't really move from the top once you tip it. So what I like to do is once I've got that first syringe full of water in, I'm going to stop filling it and I'm going to do what I call a little zhuzh with my hand. All you're going to do is agitate it back and forth sideways. And because there's just a little bit of liquid in there right now, it's going to allow that glitter to really fall out of the way and for the water to catch the remaining glitter all the way up to the edge. Now, if you fill the cup up too full when you do this step, it's going to leak out the bottom. So that's why it's important to hit it before you get too much water in there, and then you can't get good vigorous mixing action. Now you'll be able to clearly see the dry line and the wet line from where the glitter is getting soaked with the water. And if you just continue to go back and forth until all of the glitter is moving freely, you won't have any worries. If you skip this step, it's really important to leave your tumbler sit in off gas for a while, because as the water seeps down into that, those air bubbles from that dry glitter are going to rise up and displace a lot of water in your cup. Also, you run the risk of not having good movement afterwards. And like I said, the last thing you want is to finish your tumbler and find that your glitter's not moving. Now that I have my glitter moving freely, I can kind of look at it and judge, do I think I have enough? Is the color saturation the way I want it? If not, take this time to adjust your glitter a little bit, add a little bit more if you need to, but if you're happy with it, then it's time to just go ahead and fill it up. So I just continue to use my large syringe until I get pretty full. Then I'll switch to a smaller one just so I have a little more control. All right, y'all, I have to freeze frame and apologize. My camera stopped recording and didn't catch the end of this, so I'll just tell you what you missed. So basically, I'm just going to give my cup a few taps on my desk to make sure any air bubbles rise to the top. Then I'm going to take that smaller syringe, which has a smaller amount of liquid so I can control it better, and I'm going to put that towards the hole, and I'm going to tilt my cup so that hole is at the very top. And I want to just slowly drop in water until it's completely filled, but without overflowing. Having your cup tilted slightly with the air hole at the top is going to allow any of those little remaining bubbles to move to the edge instead of getting trapped underneath the bottom there. Having said all that, you do want to have a teeny tiny little air bubble in your tumbler just because it helps push the glitter around and ensure that it never gets stuck in one spot. But the amount of residual air that's trapped in there is going to form that bubble for you, even when you think you have it filled to the tippy top. So don't intentionally leave an air bubble or you'll have way too much in the end. Once your tumbler is all filled with liquid and you're happy with the level, you just want to make sure you clean the bottom off with some alcohol so that all of our sealers are going to stick to the bottom well. So a lot of people use things like cabinet bumpers or glue sticks or hot glue, but I have found that a piece of Scotch tape works just as well, and I already have that laying around. So I'm just going to make sure my tumbler bottom's clean and put a piece of tape, and then the corner is going to stick up ever so slightly on the edge, and I'm just going to trim that with my X-Acto knife. It is imperative at this stage that the bottom be completely clean and dry. If your tumbler is not dry, or if your water is to the very top edge and the tape is wet, this will not work. After you have your piece of tape on there to act as a barrier between your epoxy and your liquid, it's time to go ahead and seal the bottom. So I like to mix up about 5 mils of fast set, and I like to mix in a healthy dose of glitter that matches the glitter in the tumbler. I like to do that because it gives it a really seamless, cohesive look when the tumbler is sitting upright and all the glitter has settled to the bottom. It just looks like glitter is sitting down there as well. And I really like the smooth, shiny seal you get at the bottom. Epoxy is self-leveling, so it'll do a pretty good job of spreading itself around the bottom, but I like to give it a little bit of a helping hand, especially since I have so much glitter in here. It's a little bit on the thicker side. So I'm just going to take my popsicle stick and move it all the way up to the edges. You want to be careful not to push it up too high because we don't want to leave a big chunk where it was and then settled back down. So we just want to push it up nice and even around the inside. After I get that all spread around in there, I lightly hit it with my torch just to pop any bubbles and sort of heat up that epoxy and get it to leveling. Also, I like that it helps the glitter sink down into it a little bit and it's not quite as rough. Since epoxy is self-leveling, make sure you have your tumbler sitting on a level surface. After it's sat for about 45 minutes, I come back in with another 5 mils of fast set epoxy and I clear coat over that glitter layer. Again, I hit it with my torch to pop any bubbles and help level it out, and I set it to the side and let that fully cure. What that does for my bottom is it gives it a super shiny glass smooth finish, and I think it just really gives it a professional look and sort of pulls the whole tumbler together so you don't have any rough glitter on the bottom. Once that coat of epoxy is fully cured, it's time to add the decals if you so choose. There are a couple of things to keep in mind when doing decals on a tumbler like this. Namely, there's no epoxy on it to protect it. So you want to make sure you're using a good quality permanent vinyl and not a removable if you want the decals to hold up. Also, you want to make sure that you're not putting any kinds of designs on with super thin fonts or super tiny pieces, because with handling, those pieces won't last. So since my theme for this tumbler was sort of anti-Valentine's Day, a sort of sarcastic tongue-in-cheek version of a love tumbler, I went ahead and I cut my decals out of two colors of vinyl. So I did the solid color background, and then I cut the letters out of the white vinyl. So instead of having teensy tiny letters on my tumbler, I actually have a solid piece of white vinyl with the letters cut out of it. Doing it this way allows my decal to be a lot sturdier, and I don't have to worry about a disappointed customer calling about their letters falling off. All that's left to do here is make my way around the tumbler and add all of my cute little conversation hearts, and then we're finished. Here are our beautiful tumblers all finished up and ready to go for Valentine's Day. As always, the products used today are linked in the description box below, including the SVG that's available through my Etsy. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed watching me make my Starbucks tumblers, and I hope that you enjoy creating one for yourself as well. To check out more great tumblers and tutorials, please join my Facebook group, Add a Bit of Bling Creative Community. I can't wait to see what you create.